Good morning, everyone. My name is Mark Pesci. I am the CEO and co-founder of MooresCloud. You may be wondering why there's a pretty colored Christmas tree off stage left. I'll explain to you in a minute. First, I want to talk about the smart home landscape because we are a smart home company. And there's a whole bunch of technologies that are emerging in the smart home. A lot of them are connected with security, so you can get a lockatron and it will unlock your front door from your smartphone, or in August, which will do it even more prettily. There's a lot of stuff that does monitoring. It can tell you when a door has been opened or when a window has been left open. And you have, for example, Belkin, you have Smart Things, which raised a bunch of money on Kickstarter. You have Nest, all starting to take different parts of that space. In heating, of course, everyone is familiar with the Nest thermostat, which is sort of almost the archetypal smart home device right now. In energy, you have Belkin. Belkin has got special technology built into each of their switches that's actually measuring the current that's passing through them, can do energy measurement. And then in lighting, you're now starting to see a number of companies doing smart connected lighting. The archetypal device is the Philips Hue bulb. You also see the LifeX bulb after a successful Kickstarter campaign. Belkin is doing their own bulb. And now, MooresCloud. Now, what do we do at MooresCloud? The main thing we do at MooresCloud is we've figured out how to monetize light. And we do this 3 different ways. We make devices that have the idea of monetized light embedded in them, the holiday being the first of them. We create custom apps that allow you to control your lights, and we provide a new thing which we're calling illumination as a service, which connects the home to content providers in the outside world so that you can have custom lighting delivered into the home on demand. Now, the first thing we've done is a set of Christmas lights called Holiday by MooresCloud, and here you see 3 of them sitting on the tree. And these Christmas lights are the best lights anyone has ever made. They can do any color you like. So for example, watch the top of the tree here. Any color you like in the rainbow. You can do all of the colors in the rainbow. You can do any pattern you like. And the lights have a full HTML5 accessible API. So what you're seeing there is a small bit of JavaScript that's calculating some colors in JavaScript, packaging them up and sending them off in Ajax to the holiday, because every light is individually addressable, individually controllable. So what we've done is we've given lighting an API so that anyone who wants to do anything with their lighting has an easy HTML5 JavaScript path to doing that. We can do that because the controller for the holiday, which you see here at the front of the screen, is a full Linux computer connected via Wi-Fi, connected to the internet. It is a connected device. It's also a bit of a Trojan horse because as soon as that connected light comes into the house, it also looks for all of the other connected lights that are in the house, which don't have Linux in them, even though they're on the Wi-Fi, and it brings them into the control hierarchy and presents a single interface, illumination as a service, a single API that controls all of the other connected full spectrum lighting in the house. So once you have this device, and by the way, we started shipping this in December, as you might expect. It is now available in Australia, New Zealand, and just this week, we started taking pre-orders in the United States through Grand Street. So you can go to grandstreet.com/holiday, and you'll find it right there. Feel free to order as many sets as you like. As soon as we had prototype versions of this, we had folks developing apps. And one of the apps we're particularly proud of, the first app to use our illumination as a service APIs, is what's called the Holiday Visualizer. The Holiday Visualizer takes any song in your iTunes library and plays it out in light and sound. And so there you go. That's the canon in D being played out in this string with different visualizations. And of course, it looks great on a Christmas tree, but that now means that any room in the house can instantly be a discotheque anywhere, just from your iPhone. Now that's the beginning, the very tip of where we're going. This year, we're building out the illumination as a service model. This is the core business model for MooresCloud. We're taking content providers, they might be telcos, they might be data services, they might be broadcasters, and we're giving them a single interface to subscriptions and billing, along with authentication and security, and giving them access to all of the devices supporting illumination as a service APIs. Now, in practice, this means that we can do the kinds of applications we already have in development. For example, we've developed an application called the Family Barometer, which modulates lights in rooms of the house based on the locations of the members of the family. So you know if mom is at work, or if the kids are at school, or if dad is on their way home, just by looking at the ambient lighting in the house. Second, for June this year, we're going to be introducing the World Cup, and you'll see national flags flighting itself back and forth across our lights in color in real time as the ball changes control. And of course, World Cup, NFL, already we're doing this for the Australian Football League and the National Rugby League in Australia. And finally, where we see the biggest market is this is a new kind of medium that can be used with broadcasting. So you're watching a streaming movie, perhaps through a service like Netflix, and the lights in your house are being modulated with that, or you're listening to streaming radio in Pandora, and again, you have a light show to go along with that. So this is a resource that we never had until now. We didn't really have controllable lighting. Now that we have controllable lighting, we have the capacity to pair that with streamed media as another form of media. So what's MooresCloud doing in 2014? We've had enormous response for the holiday. We sold out the first 2 builds long before we ever shipped them. And now we're building our retail channel in America and Europe. We're focusing mostly on North America this year. We will be shipping 100,000 holidays this year. And we're establishing distribution networks with Balsam Hill, which is the high-end Christmas lights retailer in America. Grand Street, as I said, Federated Department Stores, West Farmers. What we found is as an important part of our business model is that we will be able to get $20 in additional services and apps revenue per customer per year. So if we get a hardware sale over the next 60 months, we receive as much revenue again in apps and services as we received in hardware. We're also raising $3 million this year because we need to grow. And we need to fund that growth so we can handle all of the business that's coming in through our international sales channels in America and in Europe and in Asia. Marketing and merchandising, because we plan on having a lot of setup stands. When people come in, there's a tablet in front of them. They touch that tablet, the lights change color, and in that moment, MooresCloud has made another sale. We need customer support because we're going to have hundreds of thousands of connected units at the end of the year, and we'll need people to be able to answer their questions. Manufacturing, of course, we've already built up significant capacity, but we need to grow that. Engineering, and of course, building out illumination as a service cloud services. We're going to project around $11 million in revenue this year. About $10 million of that's going to be from hardware sales. About $1 million is going to be from apps and services across that. That will grow by about 70% a year over the next couple of years. What we project is that by 2018, we will finally get to about $100 million in revenue, and probably around 30 to 35% of that will be services and app-based. So as I said, this is the year we're focusing on growth in North America. Next year we're focusing on growth in Europe, and in 2016 we're going to be focusing on growth in Asia, so that by 2018 we expect to be shipping 650, 700,000 holidays per year into the markets globally. Christmas lighting is a $10 billion a year industry globally. We're trying to take 2 to 3% of that, and we're also trying to show people the way that all lighting is going to be working in 10 years' time. But we're starting with Christmas lighting because it's very easy to explain to people, everyone likes it, and there's a built-in market for it. But once you've brought our lighting into the household, it's a party. Now let me talk about our executive team. We're based in Sydney, Australia, and we have perhaps the finest team of startup folks that has ever been part of a team in Australia. So myself, Mark Pesce, I was, of course, in America for many years, moved to Sydney 10 years ago. Most famous because 20 years ago this month, myself and Tony Parisi, who are over here, invented VRML, the 3D interface to the World Wide Web. My co-founder, Kate Crothers, is over here. She is the business brains of the operation. She has deep experience in lots of companies and has really been helping us map out a strategy for growth and for business that will help us maintain that growth trajectory for years into the future. We're very lucky in that we have Robert Tiller, who is the leading industrial designer in Australia, one of the leading industrial designers in the world, doing all of the industrial and manufacturing design for MooresCloud's products, so that we have design sensibility imbued in our DNA. And we have an incredible technical team. Keen Mazels, who is the lead in the maker movement in Australia, is the CTO and has brought all of his expertise into all of our designs so that they're easy, they're inexpensive, and they're mass producible. Now, we are going to need a CFO this year because manufacturing, which is what we do, is very cash flow sensitive. We need to build up a sales force, particularly in America. We need a director of sales. We need folks who are familiar with merchandising. We need people who are familiar with logistics and operations so that everything gets delivered to customers at the right time. And always we're looking for great technical talent. And if you want to find out more about us, MooresCloud.com, AngelList MooresCloud, and you can take a look at our code on GitHub. Questions?
Thank you for your talk. Why are your projections for the Kiwis and Aussies so narrow compared to those for North America and Europe?
The projections for Australia and New Zealand would end up being about 1/15 the projections of the size of the North American market, because that's the relative population projection. So the population of Australia and New Zealand together is 1/15 the population of the US and Canada. So that's the basis we work from. And in fact, we've actually been a little bit more generous because we're an Australian company. We're a little bit more generous with their projections than we are with the North Americans because we're better known and better established there already because we've been shipping there for 6 months longer than we will have shipped in North America.
Mark, one of the things I love that you were talking about was this kind of disco integration, right? That this responsive lighting to another stimulus. And I'm wondering, what's on your roadmap in terms of combined interactivity? Are we going to have a time where we each have an API that's on an app that's interacting in a stadium and each of us is contributing to this sort of, spectacle?
There's an event that's not very well known in America called Eurovision. It's a very big thing in Europe. It's very big in Australia. It's a giant pop music festival where every nation elects this pop band to sing a song, and it's a huge, huge thing. And in the festival hall, which was in, I think, Uppsala, Sweden this past year, everyone who walked in had an armband that changed color based on whatever band was playing. We want to bring that into people's houses. So you have this idea of all sorts of wonderful live events where all of the lighting on your house, we will do wearables, so all of the jewelry on your person, all of that is becoming synced to all of these APIs. There's something downstairs, Lumo, they make a little thing that allows you to tell whether you're tilting and your position is wrong, and you have to look at your smartphone all the time, but why not tie that into our API so your lights go yellow or red when you're sitting in the wrong position? You don't have to think about it. It's like, oh, the light's red, I've got to come back up to a straight position. There's so many ways that we can tie lighting into all of the sensors of our world that make sense for us, that allow it to have amazing utilization in our lives. And there's a lot of B2C uses, but there's also a lot of B2B users. We as soon as we shipped to our Australian customers, some of them brought them into work and hooked it up to Nagios, which is a server monitoring system, because we gave them an interface. And so they have Christmas lights up on the wall, but the values of the Christmas lights indicate the states of the servers they're in. As soon as you give people an API to light, they go at it and they start creating their own applications for it.
Have you thought about applications in medicine at all?
So you could definitely do something if someone's wearing an insulin monitor or a blood pressure monitor. So you could do all of that stuff around the home. There's also something around the hospital as well. If someone can actually just peek into a room and understand a patient's status without having to be able to read all of the specific, oh, it's gone red in there, I actually have to come in, or it's yellow. So there are ways of being able to think about light as being able to tell a tale. And we've done that because that's the way stoplights work. We've always had that, but we haven't had the capacity to bring it everywhere, and that's the core of what we're doing.
Talk to me about what the connected city looks like in 15 years when you have every light in a MooresCloud type of infrastructure.
Right. I mean, it's going to, so you have to think now, 30% of all of the internet traffic in America at 8 p.m. is Netflix traffic, right? And so now I want you to start to imagine, it's not going to be 30% as MooresCloud traffic, but along with that 30% of entertainment traffic, there's now going to be streams of light traffic. So the kids will have something going on in their room because they're watching the Disney Channel and it makes sense to do that. The parents may be watching House of Cards Series 16 in the living room, and the lights will be getting ominous when there's going to be another murder. So it's going to be that kind of thing. And then someone actually may be wandering around the house. I have this vision of a 6-year-old wandering around the house, and her bracelets are changing color as she's moving from room to room. Perhaps there's a room she shouldn't be in, and it starts to flash a little red to remind her that she shouldn't be in there. You've got the dog with a dog collar that's got GPS and will flash when he leaves the house or leaves the gated zone. So you have all of this capacity for the lights to be expressive that we're just at the beginning of.
More questions?
Can you tell us how you're going to get traction with the Christmas light, specifically against, you know, all the LED lights coming from China at a very low price point?
The LED lights coming from China are dumb. They are not connected. They offer no interface. We invite you to come down to the booth. We're on the first row against the wall. Come and see our UI. Come and see, because what we're offering is an integrated software and hardware solution. What we're offering is what we call experiential. To touch it is to understand why it's so much better and so much different than what other people are doing. We're establishing a high-price, high-value brand, and we will continue to increase the value of that brand by building an ecosystem of apps and services. And if you go and buy a $30 strip of LEDs at Home Depot or whatever, you're going to plug it in, it's going to be red, and that's all it's going to do. Now, until this year, that was all you ever expected Christmas lights to do, so that was fine. But now you're establishing a new high watermark. This is how Christmas lights are acting. And so we're going after those consumers, and then the aspirational consumers will see them and want them and will follow.
So is the goal to just stay one step ahead? Because their lights are getting smarter too.
You have to stay one step ahead. So I mean, part of what we're bringing to the table is enormous depth in engineering and understanding how to make things better, how to keep moving, how to build an ecosystem. This isn't the first time we've done this. And so in that sense, what we're going to do is continually make it better. Now, if the Chinese clone our hardware, then we have another platform for our apps and services. Have you seen the Chinese clone an apps and services platform? Not yet.
Not very well.
So if they clone the hardware, we're like, excellent, that's more money, and we didn't even have to make a hardware sale. All right.
Any more questions? One more? Thanks so much, Mark.
Thank you all very much.